McDONOUGH, your next Baltimore County Executive.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you very much. I want to do this a little differently. There's a lot of issues. I can tell you that in the past 2 months running for this office, I thought things were bad in the beginning. You have no idea. We're at the crossroads. This is our last opportunity. If we do not win this election, and I don't say I mean we, if we do not win this election, it is the end for Baltimore County. Plans for this county, the long-term plans, in case you're not aware of it, there was a book written 20 years ago, published by the A.P.S. company. The long-term plans for this county is to merge Baltimore County with Baltimore City. It's called Metro Baltimore. You can look it up, you can Google it. And Johnny Olszewski and all of the 30-year Democrat county executives have been moving us in that direction. Now, Olszewski is moving us more quickly. And if he gets a second term, it's going to be a disaster. I want to begin by talking about two things separate from the issue. The first one is, let's talk about, can this election be won? People want to know that, okay? Couple of points. Out of all of the county executives in the past 30 years that have been Democrats, in their re-election bids, running for a second term, there has been a trend, and each one of them has dropped dramatically. In the last election, Kevin Kamenetz ran against, I forgot his name, George Harmon. George Harmon had $10,000, and George Harmon got 45% of the vote. And the candidate before him got 40-some% of the vote. So there is going to be a dip in this trend for Olszewski. Now, if I had run when George Harmon ran with my name recognition and more money, I probably would have won that race. But George Harmon did great. Nobody knew who he was, and he didn't have any money. Now, there are 100,000, I was shocked to hear this, there are 100,000 independents in Baltimore County. There are 275,000 Democrats, 110,000 Republicans, and 100,000 independents. Now, they don't like Olszewski. The polling indicates they don't like Olszewski. About 50,000 of them are going to vote. We are going to do a mailer to those 50,000 voters and the independents, because my campaign is not a Democrat or Republican campaign. It's more of an independent campaign about the issues that are in Baltimore County. Cox is running for governor, running a pretty good campaign. Now, what's going to happen with the Republicans in Baltimore County? I think it's going to be a very large turnout. All of the Republicans are probably going to vote. Now, some will not be Cox voters. They will be Hogan voters, okay? But every Cox voter and every Hogan voter will vote for McDonough. All of them. Because they're not going to vote for Olszewski. That's another reason why we can win. Now, I think we're going to, as I said, we're going to do good with the independents. Early voting and election day, I spoke to 500 or more people. When they voted, they had already voted and they were coming out of the voting booth. And I asked every one of them, about 200 Democrats, at different polling places. I said, what is your greatest fear? 99% said, our greatest fear is the future of this county. And they were sincere about it. Now, if average voters fear the future of where their county executive is taking them, they are not going to vote for that person. They don't vote for their fears. That's very strong and very powerful. One final point. I was at an event for Democrats. They allowed me to come in. My friend Derek Davis, who is from Prince George's County, is the treasurer of the state of Maryland, and I served in the legislature with him, and I liked him, and I wanted to go over and talk to him. So Valerie and I went there. Johnny Olszewski was there. He was running around with a baseball cap turned backwards on his head. He was a cool bro. So a man came up to me, an older man, and he said, I'm a Democrat, and I raise big money for the Democrats. He said, and I'm in on everything. He said, I know everything they do that matters. He said, I don't like Olszewski. He said, I like you. He said, I'm not going to tell you my name or anything. He said, I don't go to these events very often, to be honest with you, but Derek Davis is the treasurer for the state, so he's important to me on investments, so that's why I'm here. But I will say this to you. The Democrats did a poll, and they're scared to death. And they're not trying to they want to keep it secret. But in the poll, Olszewski was 37%, McDONOUGH was 31%, and undecided was 32%. That's a scary poll, because most undecideds will not vote for the incumbent. If they were going to vote for the incumbent, they would be part of the 37. Okay? So if we could get 20 points out of that 31, we can win this job. Now, that's why I'm mentioning this stuff, to tell you we do have a shot. Okay? Now, I want to mention something about the position. Republicans don't pay attention sometimes to things that are important to them, to their best interests. The Democrats do. The Democrats know what offices are powerful. They know what offices matter. They know when you have to unite as Democrats and go after a certain position. Republicans don't know that. Okay? I'll give you an example. The Office of County Executive in Baltimore County is the most important job on the ballot in Baltimore County. Now, the two most powerful positions that a Republican can win in the state of Maryland is governor and Baltimore County Executive. All the other positions, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, maybe, Republicans probably can't win. But in Baltimore County, when I become county executive, I can raise a minimum of $1 million a year as county executive. No other office in Baltimore County can raise that kind of money. But the county executive can. And the county executive can use that money to help the party, to help other candidates. $1 million a year. The county executive becomes an ATM machine for the county. Now, the Republicans, you would think, would be behind that, every single one of them, every candidate, every elected official. But we got to win that job. This guy has a shot. We better do it. It's not happening. Some are, but generally speaking, it's not happening. Now, citizens are. People are coming to our meetings. We are raising money. But the Republicans who should be on top of this are not on top of it. That's number one. Number two, the day that I'm sworn in as your county executive, I have the responsibility of appointing 500 positions, 500 jobs. You know, a state senator or a congressperson that appoints 500 jobs? No. That's why this is important, because those 500 jobs can go to good Republican people, not all of them. And then there's other jobs besides those 500, because people are quitting the county that I have to replace because they don't like Olszewski. So what other job do you have besides county executive that appoints 500 positions? I appoint 24 jobs where people make over $150,000 a year. That's important. I have influence and control over the police, the fire department, housing, the directors of 24 major agencies, and a great deal of influence over the school system, which is important to Mary and Amy. And also taxes, county taxes, which, as Valerie pointed out, have increased. We had our first increase in taxes in 30 years. Who did it? The county executive. You can have your first tax decrease in 50 years, and who has the power to do that? The county executive, me. All right? Now, it's not all about me, all right? I'm not telling you these things because it's about me. It's about you. You've got to win this job. You've got to win this job. Now let me tell you about the issues. We are losing our police officers, our best and our brightest and our law enforcement professionals. And we are losing a couple every week. Law enforcement and police, 353. They can't do the traffic stops. They cannot handle on time all of the calls. Sometimes they have 2 or 3 calls. And these are young people that are leaving. Their morale is low. They don't like the police chief, and they've said so publicly. And I know Johnny's anti-cop because he passed 6 anti-cop bills 2 years ago. So as I become county executive, I'm going to increase our police detachment from 1,900 to 2,200. Now, why am I going to do that? Because the county has increased the population to 850,000 people. Crime has increased. And I want our police officers to arrive on time for a complaint. And I want them to go out, which they want to do this. I want them to go out into the community and work with our youth. Now, if a policeman's working every day trying to just keep up with his job, they don't have time to work with the youth. So we have got to support our police. They don't have a proper academy. They don't have a training for the dogs. They don't even have a gun range. That tells me the county executive doesn't care about that. Now here's where, and they've reimagined, that's a beautiful word. How many times have you heard that word? The liberals love it. We've reimagined the drug task force. Well, the drug task force and strike force in Baltimore County used to be pretty good, but they've reimagined it. We're going to make it the best in the nation. We're going to use the feds and the state to make it, and here's why. Next year, we're going to legalize marijuana in Maryland. Now let me tell you something about it. That's unstoppable, okay? In all 15 states where they have legalized marijuana, the outlaw gangs and networks that sell drugs, including heroin and fentanyl, have increased and doubled in size. Wherever they legalize marijuana, they have doubled in size in 15 states. We have a storm coming to Baltimore County next year because we're a sanctuary state, which means MS-13 and all the gangs can come into our state and come into our county to sell cocaine and heroin. And we have a county and a state and a legislature infested with PCPs, pro-criminal politicians. You know what I'm talking about? The Marilyn Mosbys of the world live in the general asylum. And they will not do anything to these people. So we are going to need a county executive that is ready for the fight, that anticipates the storm, that will not allow his children and his families to be overwhelmed and overcome by this coming to our county. As a leader, you have to anticipate. We will build that force, we will restructure that drug defense, and we will be ready in Baltimore County. And that's what's called leadership. Now, education that Mary and Amy worked on. There's an education establishment in Baltimore County. They like critical race theory, they lie to you and say, oh, we don't have it. They have it. It's all over the place. They talk about sexual training for babies. Now, what can we do about it? You ask this county executive and he will tell you, we can't do anything about it, Pat, because I don't have the power. That's the school board. Let me tell you something. As county executive, I have a lot of power. You know what it's called? The budget. The superintendent has to come to my office. I don't go to his office. And I say, you want this, you want that, you want this? Guess what? You're not getting any of it. Unless you do this, you do that, and you do this. We also have to build a structure to fight the education establishment. The first job I'm going to create is the Office of Education Advocate. They'll be right out of the county executive's office. The education advocate will fight for the parents and the students, and he or she will have powers to subpoena people and to investigate. And if the Board of Education or the superintendent says, Mary, I'm sorry I can't give you that information, the education advocate will step up and say, yes, you will. Because you know why? Because we're going to have a parent's bill of rights, something we don't have. And we're going to have a police officer's bill of rights in Baltimore County to protect our police officers. The one that I co-sponsored 20 years ago in the state was killed by the PCPs last year. So, despite how bad it is, and can be, and it will be, it is guaranteed, it is an agenda. It's unstoppable unless we stop it. Now, Maryland and Baltimore County is a sanctuary county. I don't know whether you know that or not. But it was created by an executive order by Kevin candidates. I have the executive order. I'm going to ask our lawyer, Wayne, to review executive orders. This one, first day in office, I will call in the media and I will draw an X. There will be no more sanctuary county in Baltimore County. And there are a bunch of those, okay? And they're going to go. Now, we had our first tax increase in 30 years by Johnny Olszewski, his first week in office. He has increased the county budget by 35% in 4 years. That's a record. The police by 8%. That's defunded. He has increased the debt. Now, what's happening with debt? We have something called inflation, right? And what is the Fed doing every week? They're increasing the interest rates. They're increasing the interest rates on Baltimore County debt. Okay? We have $1 billion debt. It's the highest we've ever had under Olszewski. And our property taxes have increased. He said, well, that's the state's fault. No, there's a thing called constant yield that the county executive controls that says we can reduce the constant yield even though the state increases the assessment to balance it out. I have the power to do that. They lie. They lie constantly. If you saw the TV show last night, they were lying, as usual. And me and Dave Baldenour, the president of the FOP, were on there telling the truth. And finally, housing. We are now a county that has an 80% increase in poverty in 10 years. And housing has a lot to do with it. We are now a county that has more housing rental units every year than housing ownership. Section 8 housing is not Section 8 housing. Section 8 housing is Section 8 rentals that the taxpayers pay for. And the speculators and hustlers from New Jersey and Virginia are investing in Baltimore County to buy homes and turn them into Section 8 rentals. They don't care about the poverty in this county because they don't live here. Now, we are going to pass whatever legislation we can through the housing department in Baltimore County. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a stop, temporary hold on all housing negotiations related to rentals. We're going to establish a commission. We're going to look at who are the owners of these houses. We're going to look at how the quality of life has affected neighborhoods. What is the response rate? We have 40 inspectors in Baltimore County, only 2 for Section 8 housing. That's going to change, I can tell you. So, what do? We have to do something positive. I'm going to call in all the bankers, all the financial people in Baltimore County and everywhere else I can go, and we're going to set up a home ownership fund. And we're going to promote home ownership in Baltimore County. And then I'm going to talk to Jay-Z and Will Smith. I might even let Will Smith smack. But we're going to talk to them because they are promoting billions of their own money into housing ownership across the country. They have a great plan. We're going to talk to them to come into Baltimore County. So Things can be done. Things can change if the leader and the people want it. Most politicians don't give a damn. They don't care. They don't return your phone calls. They don't fix your problems. I worked for the last county executive that was a Republican. I was his campaign manager, Roger Hayden, the late Roger Hayden, 30 years ago. Sometimes I used to sit in on the big decisions. But I know where everything is buried in Baltimore County. When I was a young man, I know you're looking skeptical. He was young. Yes, I was young. In my early 20s, I worked for the greatest mayor that ever lived, William Donald Schaefer. And he said, gave me some good advice. He said, Pat, politicians don't have a creative bone in their ass. They're not creative. We are going to create things. I don't want Baltimore County to be safe and just a county that's doing okay. I want Baltimore County to be a success. I want Baltimore County to be greater and better than it is. You know, I'll tell you, Johnny Olszewski is an ambitious politician. When he makes a decision for the police or fire people aren't happy either, especially the volunteers, by the way. When he makes a decision, he thinks, how will the voters in Baltimore City feel about this? How will the voters in Montgomery County feel about this? Because I might want to be governor someday. How will the Washington Post feel about this? Now, despite my youthful good looks, I'm a mature man, okay? This is my last rodeo. This is my last hurrah. When I make a decision about Baltimore County as your county executive, I'm not going to give a damn, excuse my French, about the voters of Baltimore City. I'm not going to care about the voters of Montgomery County. I don't care about the morons at the Washington Post. All I care about is, will this work? Can we afford it? Will it make a difference? My whole campaign has nothing to do with Donald Trump. The Sun will do an editorial and call me the Trump of Baltimore County. Has nothing to do with Donald Trump. My campaign has nothing to do with Joe Biden. A lady the other day said to me, what do you think about abortion? I said, well, number one, abortion has nothing to do with my job. I said, number two, I'm pro-life. But I will tell you this is where my job crosses the roads with abortion. If the parents of a child in my school system are both pro-choice, I will do the best I can to make sure that child is a success, has a good education, graduates, and does good. I don't care what the parents are. Pro-choice or pro-life, that's not my job. My job is to take care of that child. That's the approach I'm taking. The reporters are going to ask me about issues like that, but I'm sticking to my guns. I am not Donald Trump. I am not Joe Biden. If I'm anybody, I'm William Donald Schaefer. Okay? And I am looking forward to doing the right things for Baltimore County, because they can be done. We are a wealthy county. Olszewski gave $90 million to education who didn't even ask for it, to hire social workers and counselors. Okay? That $90 million for me would go to these guys sitting over here from the Fraternal Order of Police to hire cops, to build a training center, and to do the things we need to do. The budget has the money if you have the leadership. So finally, this campaign has a slogan, Save Our County. It's on all the signs. This is a movement. When I'm finished with this, if I win, I'll do the best I can. If I don't win, we'll continue to save our county. And the thing that I pledge above all else, I stand by this. I will never allow Baltimore County to become a failure like Baltimore City. If you're a young person and you riot in one of our malls, or you do something stupid, or you want to be a squeegee professional, I will give you a job. I will give you a job. I will give you a job cleaning nursing homes, cleaning hospitals, cleaning the sides of the road, and I'll give it to you on the first time you try to do it. I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you that job, but guess what? I'm not going to pay you a dime. It's called community service. And I will plea bargain with you and say, do you want to get charged with 2 laws that you have broken, or do you want to do community service? But I'll tell you one thing. You're not going to get away with this nonsense and do nothing and have no consequences. Young people have to be taught there are consequences to things when you do something wrong. And this county is going to be a rule of law county. Baltimore County comes first, and our people come first. And I'm proud to be that kind of county executive because I will tell you this. We've never had one. And I'll be honest and straightforward. When a reporter comes up to me and says, what do you think about your colleague, the mayor of Baltimore City? I'll say, he has a tough job, and he's not doing it. So for the first time in the Metro Baltimore area, reporters in the media and television and the press will be getting straight answers that they haven't heard before. They're finally going to have a leader with a pulpit and a megaphone that's going to start to say things that you like, that you would say, and getting that on television instead of the BS you hear all the time. So anyway, I want to thank Valerie. She's done a great job. Smartest woman. Smartest woman in the world. 35 years, never been wrong once. And folks that are here, to all the sign guys, we have Neil Howe. We have, what's your name again, sir? Jim. Over here. I'm sure you're not a sign guy. We have Andy Esposito, and we have Scott Collier, very active in the community. They've been helping us put up signs, and Pat Laurie has helped us. So our sign crews are growing. They're going to see more and more signs. We're going to reach out to those independents. And I think we're going to have enough money to do some television. So if we can get the television. But I'm telling you, I think people are ready. I think people want change. And I believe we're in this race. And I think this is going to be the biggest upset in the state of Maryland. And I want to mention it's a good year for Republicans, I think. What they did to Trump, invading his house, stealing his materials without real legal constitutional authority, it made all the Trump people, 80 million of us. Now, and most of us, of course, we like Trump, we have problems with Trump, but we like the America First agenda. That's what we support. Well, our 80 million strong in America, of course, look at him now as a martyr, right? But let me tell you where the real danger is for the Democrats. This is the danger. Those independent voters and those undecided voters across America, they look at this and they say, you know, those Trump people have been talking about the corruption in the FBI and the Department of Justice and the deep state. And you know, after this incident, I'm beginning to become concerned that they might be right. That's what the independents and the crossover voters are thinking. So all the polls indicate that this has backfired on the Democrats. And I think as more and more comes out, remember when Biden said he had nothing to do with it? And now the archivist said the chief gave him the information and he had to issue the order. Biden lied? Can you believe that? And then finally, I think they're going to find out that in 1976, there was a law passed during the Carter administration that strengthened the power and the authority of the president to retain his papers. Very powerful law. Now that's what's going to go to court. And they're going to say, yeah, that's his papers. That's for his library. That's for his history. And it's going to backfire. American people are going to say they shouldn't have done that. So anyway, this is the comment. So in Maryland, I want to talk about, of course, our gubernatorial candidate, Dan Cox. I know Dan. I've known him for many years. In fact, I encouraged him to get into the race. I was one of the people that encouraged him to get into the race. And we got to vote for him because, number one, he has 10 children and he needs a job. But Dan and I were talking before he ran, and he was talking about lieutenant governor. And he was talking about different people. I won't go into detail. And I said, Dan, you got the wrong idea. Let me tell you who you have to put on that ticket for lieutenant governor. My very good and close friend, Giordano Schiffinelli. said, well, why should I put her on there? And I said, well, because she's tall and beautiful. No, that's not what I said. I said, because this is the year of the woman. The woman who is a fighter, the woman who is a leader. She got rid of the Black Lives Matter movement on the Eastern Shore. She got rid of the superintendent that was the Black Lives Matter advocate. She had 3 children in the school system. She elected an entirely new school board on the Eastern Shore through her own efforts, a write-in vote. I said, you need a leader who's a fighter. And she is from Yugoslavia. She grew up under the communists. If you ever hear her personal story, it's amazing. She's a lawyer. She's an economist. She's an instructor at the Naval Academy. And she is a fighter. I said, Dan, that's what you need. That's what you need. He said, no, I think I need a black candidate. I said, no, you don't. I said, you need a real candidate. And now she has been, he picked her, God bless him. He picked her. And she's been a real asset. She's been all over the state, speaking everywhere. I think she's going to be a great asset. And I told her, I said, you know, after you're lieutenant governor about a month, you're going to call me. She called me every week anyway. She's going to call me and you're going to say, Pat, you SOB. The Washington Post called me a Nazi. The Baltimore Sun called me a racist. And they're on me every week. Why did you give me this job? I said, no. I said, you're tough. You can take it. And also running for Congress, we have, against Dutch Rupertberger, of all people, we have Nicola Ambrose, who's running for Congress. And she's a good candidate. So we have good candidates running. We could get a few wins. We might surprise some people, which would be fantastic. I think the country's going to turn around. I think we're going to have big wins in November, and I believe we're going to be very successful. And we all know the country needs it. So I want to thank you all for helping us out. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for coming here. As I said, the next event is with General Joe Naddens at his home, and he'll let some of the people in if he likes them.
Yeah.
Now he'll let everybody in.
There's a pat down.
Yeah, he'll let everybody in. So anyway, thank you all very much. God bless America. God bless Baltimore County. And finally, God save America. Thank you very much.
Amen. Yeah.